Today we're going to learn a few new concepts, and we're going to use a lot of the concepts that we already know to begin to make some things in SketchUp that are more realistic and definitely more complex. So the finished product that you're going to have is going to look something like this. We're going to have the full interior of a downstairs, including stairs, and we're going to go ahead and complete a second story as well. I didn't have time to go through and finish the second story like I did the first because I wanted to finish the video. But you will have each one, and you'll have a whole animation that does just what mine's doing right now and cuts your house into sections and goes through and has scenes of different parts of the house. So let's get started. I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to draw a rectangle on the ground. I'm going to make it 40 feet by 40 feet. Don't forget to put the apostrophe in to indicate that you want feet and not inches. I'm going to press enter. Okay, but that's just going to be my ground floor. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, get it selected. I'm going to use my move tool to copy it. So I'm going to grab my move tool, press Control once. So now I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go on the blue axis, which we know is straight up and down. And I am going to type in that I'm actually already there, but I'm going to type in 10 feet just to make sure and press enter. And now because I want to have a roof as well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in 2x, which will mean I want 2 copies, and they'll be evenly spaced at 10 feet, and I'll press enter. And just like that, I have 2 stories, one here, and a roof above. Okay, let's go ahead and try and make some stairs, which isn't quite as complicated as you might expect it to be at first. I'm going to come down to the first floor, and I'm going to go ahead and make my first stair. I'm just going to pick right about here. Imagine the door, the front door will be somewhere over here. And I'm going to go ahead and draw the first stair. Just make it some rectangle shape. But I'm going to go ahead and say that I want it to be 1 foot by 4 feet. Okay, I was actually pretty close. I'm going to take my push-pull and I'm going to raise it. I'm going to tell it I want it to be raised by 6 inches, which is about the height of a normal step. Okay, there's my first stair. Now I just need to have a bunch more of them, and it actually turns out to be pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and select this whole first stair. And I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to turn it into a component. Now you're familiar with components because you download them all the time. Those are the cars and the trees and the bushes and things that are sort of pre-made. We're going to make our own component here, and I'm going to call it first stair. And just press create. Leave all this stuff the same. Okay, pretty cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and move it. I still have it selected, which is great. And I'm going to go ahead and get my move tool. I'm going to press Control, and I'm going to make a copy of it. Now the important thing here is I'm going to take this bottom corner, and that's where I'm going to pull it from and put it on the top corner. So I grab from the bottom, and I just put my mouse up here and click. And now I am going to do a little bit of math in my head. And if my ceilings are 10 feet high and each step is 6 inches high, so half a foot, I know that I'm going to need, that's right, 20 steps. I already have the first one I made, so I need 19 new ones. So I'm going to press 19x, and when I press enter, it's going to automatically make 19 new copies, and it's going to align them the same exact way that I aligned my first copy. And if I pull out a bit, you'll see that it actually lined up perfectly with my other ceiling because I did my math properly. Now, one of the cool parts of turning this into a component is I can do this. I'm going to take my select tool and double click on one of my stairs, and I see this little sort of dotted bounding box. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to be able to work on one stair, and you'll see it's going to happen to all of the stairs. They're all sort of linked in that way. So let's make a rail or a handle for our stairs, and I'm just going to go ahead and sort of eyeball this a little bit, make a little rectangle, and I'm going to push-pull it upwards, but this I'm going to be more precise. I'm going to tell it I want it to be 3 feet off the ground. And when I pull back, you'll see that it has done that for all of my stairs because they're linked. Okay, So now we're just going to do a little bit of line work. And I'm just going to connect this to this, this to this, and you'll see once again it's copying everything that I'm doing. And I'm going to come down here, make one there, make one there, and then hopefully I'm going to be able to get in a good view. It's getting a little bit tricky, but I can do it if I'm patient. Oops, not sure what happened there. I definitely need to connect these two lines. Okay, getting close. There we go. So that side is filled in. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to take my pen and I'm just sort of tracing these lines to make sure they exist. There we go. And you'll see all of a sudden I've got a nice rail that goes all the way up. But of course, at the moment, my stairs are kind of useless because I can't actually get through. Okay, so obviously my stairs won't be of much use because I can't walk through the ceiling. So let's go ahead and fix that. Take your select tool and click off somewhere else to make sure that you don't have the stairs still selected. And I am going to draw a little rectangle here. It needs to start up in the corner there at the end of that last rail. And I'm going to try my best to line it up with this little handrail right there. So I can click on it and press delete. So now that all that's left is to attach this handrail so it's not just hanging off into space. So I'm going to come down here to this last step and just draw a rectangle. And this part's kind of important, but it's kind of counterintuitive. I'm actually going to draw a rectangle right on top of this one right here, because this face right here is actually part of all the steps. And if I make any changes to it, it'll change all of them. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to make an extra face here. It might turn white, it might not. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull that face out a bit. I'm going to pull this face up a bit. Oops, I'm going to make sure that they are lined up. I'm going to line this one up, and I'm going to line this one up. There we go. Nice and even. This is where it's going to start getting more like the interior design part of the project. And basically, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide the second floor and the third floor so that I can sort of look more straight down. And we are going to begin to create our walls. And basically, I'm going to use just a few tools, my rectangle tool and my tape measure. Tape measure will allow me to be very precise with what I'm doing. So if I, for example, decide I want to have a room over here, I am going to draw a rectangle, and all of my walls should be 6 inches thick. So I'm going to say 6 inches, comma, and let's make this room just 20 feet long. And now I'm going to do the same thing over here. It's going to be harder for me to figure out the 6-inch part, which is where my tape measure comes in. I'm going to bring my tape measure into it. I'm going to start on this line, click once. I'm going to move up just straight in the red direction and say I want it to be 6 inches. Click. And that just creates this nice little guideline for me of where 6 inches should be, so I can quickly take this line that I made and move it down to that guideline. And now both of my walls are 6 inches. So I can erase the line in between them, and I can pull them up, and this is actually my second floor right there. That might pop up, just press OK, and you'll see I have a room on my first floor. If I wanted to have a nice doorway into the room, you can tell I like these kind of doors with the arc at the top. And I'm going to get a nice view like this so that hopefully I can just take this and really what I'm trying to do is just sort of push and pull that door so it's totally gone. And see how I know I was there when I saw that on face and I let go and I can see through. You might have it happen that something like this happens or like that. And I actually can't get through there. But if I start erasing things, bad things are going to start happening to my wall. So just be patient. Undo a couple of times. And there. I have a nice doorway into that room. And this is where your floor plan is really going to come in handy, where you have designed hallways and rooms for each of your floors. And I'll come back after I have worked that out. So here's what I have so far. I have it so that I'm going to have the door over here. This is going to be sort of a den area. This will be a little, actually this will be a little hallway. On the hallway we're going to have a bathroom over here. And the hallway is going to open up into this kitchen. And then the bigger area over here is going to be my living room. The only tricky parts for me were really making this wall here with the stairs and sort of just drawing lines straight up so that they didn't mess with the stairs at all. I also want to point out that I went back and did my door again because I realized the first time I did it I didn't take note of the measurements because every door should pretty much be the same. So for me personally, I made a door that was 4 feet by 6 feet, and then I had the arc come up 2 feet, and that way I know that all my doors will look the same throughout the house. So you can go ahead and create your floor plan, and you can begin to decorate each room. You obviously know how to do that because we've done that part before. And once you have done that for the first floor, you can do it for the second floor. And you have all the skills and tools you need to do that. And once the house is done, I'm going to come back and I will show you the last piece, which is basically giving a tour of your house. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone around and I've done some light decorating for each of my rooms. I'll expect a little bit more detail from you, but at this point it's time for me to start putting the walls in place, which will sort of change how we navigate inside the house. So walls are pretty simple. I just need to connect basically the corners of the house to each other. And the walls will basically just spring into life. Oops. Try that one again. And you can tell that when I need to, I'm holding down Shift because the lines go bold. Alright, so now I have fully enclosed my first floor, which sort of begs the question, how do I, get in? So let's go ahead and just make a simple opening. I'm not going to worry about it as having a big ornate front door. I'll make it the same size though, 4 feet by 6 feet with a arc of 2 feet. But since the actual outer walls aren't 6 inches thick like the inner walls, I'm just going to go ahead and click on it and press delete. Whoops, that is not where I meant to place that. That was my living room. This is where I meant to put that. So one more time. 4 feet by 6 feet. 2 foot bulge. And okay, so there's my door. Now to navigate around the inside of the house, I'm going to use a set of tools that we haven't really covered much, and that's these down here. It's called the position camera. And basically, if I put this little guy right there, I will see what you would see if you were standing there. And down here you can see if you were 5 feet 6 inches tall. So my eyes right now are 5 feet 6 inches above the ground. Then it automatically switches into this look around button, which, as you might expect, allows you to look around. And I have my feet down here, the walk tool, and if I hold the mouse button down and take a little bit of practice, I see this stray line I'm going to go ahead and get rid of. But basically, depending on how far away from the center you move the mouse, that's how fast you're going to walk. And you can really navigate through the entire place. You can always stop and use the eye tool, and you can use the position camera again if you'd like to sort of reorient yourself. But that will allow you to move around, and now I can begin to paint all of my walls, and also I can begin to add windows, because this would be a very strange house if there were no windows. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. So now as we walk around, you see I've added new furniture in several rooms. I've added windows. I threw a painting on the wall over there, and all my walls are now painted appropriately. I've got some nice windows in the kitchen, a nice panoramic window in the living room, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so we're just about finished, and the last thing I want to show you is going to, it's pretty cool actually, but we are going to, as we've been doing, we're going to use scenes to capture different parts of our house. So I haven't done the second floor yet because I want to get this video finished, but obviously you're going to decorate the second floor. It'll have a floor plan just like the bottom floor, and you know, that's easy enough. Just takes a little bit more time, but we're going to set up scenes. So you see I have one like a living room. I actually even had one that went upstairs, although there's nothing really to see right now. But you're going to set up scenes in your various rooms so that we can have a little animation of each one of them. And I want to point out one quick thing. As right now we have a field of view, and so that's basically all that you can see right now. And right now our field of view is set at 35 degrees, which is like what a normal person sees. So if I come down here to field of view, you can see it's at 35 degrees. If I were to change it, say, to 65 degrees and press enter, I get more of what's happening in view. If I do 90 degrees, I get even more. It begins to distort it a little bit, and it begins to look a little strange. But as you add scenes, you might think about changing your perspective so that you can see more at one time. So I would expect to see a scene for all the rooms, highlighting what you've done in each one. So if I were to walk over to my living room here, I would add a scene and I'll call this one inside living room, just like before. And so you'll go through and you'll have a scene for each room, including upstairs. But I'm going to come back in just a second and show you what we're going to do at the beginning of our animation. So now we're going to start using what's called section tools. You should see these tools at the bottom of your toolbar. If you don't, just pop up to View, Toolbars, and make sure that Sections is checked. And I'm going to go ahead and make a section tool or a section plane to show you what it actually does. So I click on it, and I have two options, this or this. So I'm going to go ahead and click down here. And it looks like my model's gone. It's not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this and take my move button, and I'm going to move this section plane upwards. And what it does is it creates this little cross section of my model, just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one that has the whole thing covered up. I'm going to make a new scene for this. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new scene, and I'm going to call this bottom section. Now this is important. I need to make a new section plane. Okay. Once again, it's going to be like vertical, and I'm going to move it. I need to make sure that one is now selected. And I'm going to move it upwards. so that I can see most of my first floor. And I'm going to make a new scene. And we're going to call this first floor section. Enter. And I'm going to make one final section. And I'm going to move that section all the way up to the second floor. I'm going to add a new scene and call it second floor section. Enter. And now if I've done everything right, when I click on bottom section, I get my bottom section, first floor, second floor. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that those are at the front of my list. So I'm going to take bottom section and I'm going to press this button to move it upwards all the way to the front. I'm going to do first floor section right below that one, and then do second floor section right below that one. That way, when my animation plays, play animation, it will start there. And then we'll sort of zoom inside and begin to see the actual different rooms. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a animation of all of the various parts of your house that you created, first floor and second floor, and you're going to create sections like I've done, and then you will export it as a video, and I'm going to ask you to turn in both the video and the model this time. So I hope this has been informative, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.